Here we are, already in our season of Lent. I won't ask you what you might be planning to give up, or whether you're going to take on a new discipline, because that might have already crashed. At least I hope none of us is like the famous Oscar Wilde, who, when asked what he was going to give up for Lent, he said, just one thing: moderation. But in the early church, the main purpose of Lent was to prepare new converts for baptism, which then would be performed during the Easter liturgy. So Lent was a mental and spiritual journey, as it were, which took the brand new Christian from conversion of faith through learning about the faith to becoming a full member of the faith. And the season still contains that sense of journey for us, since it's a journey that every Lent we make, a kind of inner pilgrimage on the way to Easter. We usually think of a journey as being physical, like walking to the store or going down to the airport and catching a plane to Chicago, whatever it might be. But journeys don't always have to be physical ones. They can be internal, psychological, spiritual, and they may not require much physical motion at all. And Lent is especially the time for you and me to make this kind of inner journey. In effect, what we try to do at this Lenten season is walk more closely with the Christ. And if we're going to do this, we must learn to journey 4 roads. Not just one, 4 roads. What are they? First is the Damascus Road. That is the road of conversion. Remember the story of Paul, who formerly was called Saul? He's on his way to Damascus. He just recently saw Stephen killed for his faith. And Paul is journeying along, and suddenly the Spirit of Christ, indescribable really, it overwhelms him, an experience that converted him fully to the faith. Well, for many of us, unfortunately, conversion doesn't quite happen in that dramatic fashion. It might be rather a growing experience as the years come and go, or a growing awareness of the love and compassion embodied by Jesus Christ. To walk with Christ in this sense means to reach the point of commitment to Christ's will and to doing his bidding, of loving Christ and our neighbors as ourselves. That's why we must also learn to walk another road, the Jericho Road, the road of loving service. We all know this story of the Good Samaritan pretty well, don't we? This bleeding victim of robbers, lying by the side of the road, ignored by a few passerbys, even by those who would have otherwise loudly proclaimed their own piety and their religion, and they did nothing about it. But suddenly a despised Samaritan is the one who does stop and do something about it. And then after telling us this story, Jesus tells us bluntly, "Go thou and do likewise." Go and do likewise. Many people, instead of walking the Jericho Road, walk the road of self-interest. What's best for me? How will this help me? How can I be most looked up to and respected, or even feared? How can I get mine? Such people walk through life with very little or no sense of obligation to their fellow human beings. They walk a different road than Christ ever walked. To walk with him, we must remember his words as recorded in Luke. I am among you as one who serves. The third road we must walk is the hardest road, the road to Calvary, the road of suffering. Few of us escape this life without some kind of pain or suffering, some much more than others. Sooner or later, we all come to that sharp pain of physical or emotional illness, the emptying sense of loss from the death of a loved one, or from children moving away, for just the pain of getting old. Jesus could have escaped the road to Calvary and his crucifixion, but he chose not to respond to that temptation. Had he done so, he would not be the person we know. We mostly have no choice, do we? But we have the power to determine our response to our suffering, if and when it comes. We can see it as walking with a suffering Christ who surrounds us with his compassion. We can sometimes use our pain and sorrow or disappointment to make it a kind of blessing, in the sense that we can give more compassion and understanding to others, more of the understanding of human nature in this life, more focus on what will ultimately be for us believers. And finally, there's the fourth road, the road to Emmaus. We remember the story. Jesus has been crucified. 2 disciples are walking along the road to Emmaus, and a stranger sort of falls into step with them and says hello. They greet him, they converse with him and walk on with him. When they come to their home, they invite him in for a meal. And as he broke bread with them, they recognized him. And as a result of that experience, they learned that Christ was on every road that they walked. He was in their home. He was with them, no matter what they were doing or where they were. They realized his daily presence and his love. And it's this love and presence that we can more carefully become aware of during our Lenten journey as we respond with love, prayer, meditation, and compassion. And as the old hymn says, we walk with him and he walks with us along the Damascus road of life and faith, along the Jericho road of loving and compassionate action, along the Calvary road of our sorrows and pain, and along the Emmaus road of fellowship, recognition, and joy. And thus, my friends, we walk the way of Lent this day and all days, always. Amen.